It's time to focus on seniors with Helping Seniors TV. The television show designed to make you aware of senior issues and needs, as well as to acquaint you with the resources available to help you age in place and with dignity. Now, here's your host, Joe Steckler.
I'm Joe Steckler, and welcome to Helping Seniors, the television arm of Helping Seniors of Brevard County. Our show is designed to provide you with information on how to develop your own aging and care plans. Our topic today is Veterans Benefits, and joining me is Dennis Vannorsdall, Brevard County Veteran Service Officer. Welcome, Dennis.
Good morning.
It's always a pleasure to have you on your show. It's always a pleasure. Folks, I want to look directly at my audience. I'm a 38-year veteran of the Navy. Dennis is a 38-year veteran of the Air Force. He works with veterans. He knows how important it is for all veterans, families of veterans, to understand the benefits that are available. That's extremely important, isn't it, Dennis?
It is, and there's so many veterans benefits available to veterans, their survivors, and dependents that no one person can know everything. If you were to look in the U.S. Code, Title 38, that covers veterans benefits, it's a law book about that thick,
right?
And we refer to it often. And to the veteran unknowing, may not be aware of all the benefits that they may be entitled to. It goes a little further than just home loan guarantee and disability compensation.
Yeah. Do you have Post-its or paper clips on certain pages that you go to most often?
We do. We have, they're tabbed, and then good thing with the internet, you can just create a favorites page. So we have a favorite page that goes to the VA Code of Federal Regulations, and you can basically just Google search the topic you're looking for and find the correct law reference that covers that issue.
Idea. So, and in fact, you guys are lawyers out there.
Well, we're not lawyers, and not by a long shot, but we are accredited veteran service officers with the Department of Veteran Affairs, the Florida Department of Veteran Affairs, and then also nationally accredited with 3 veteran service organizations: the American Legion, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, and the Disabled American Veterans. We're accredited veteran service officers with all those organizations.
I think it's important, Dennis, that the people that are watching us on this show today understand that everything we talk about today that you do with people in Brevard County, Florida, let's say if somebody, a service member in Brevard County, has a family that lives in New York, and the people in New York were concerned about their mother or father here, benefits and everything, they could go to their veterans benefits at the city, county, or state level and find out the same things that are available to their parents here in Brevard, New York. It's the same anywhere. That's the big point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, it's a federal benefit. It's all veterans, regardless of where they live, are eligible. And we receive calls all the time from family members that live outside the state of Florida, live outside Brevard County, who have family members that are here that are in, they need a veterans benefit, or they're wanting to apply for a veterans benefit, and they need assistance. So they call and ask for our help, and then we link up with the veteran and try to help them out as much as we can.
And that's another key. Just because somebody tells somebody that this is what they can have, or they can have no more than that, the people that qualify for these benefits really don't know what all they're entitled to unless they come to a service officer and ask.
Yeah, a service officer is a great reference of information. We receive annual and quarterly training from the state and the Department of Veteran Affairs. We're kept current on all the current changes in the code, and the law does change. In fact, just here recently, the end of December, they changed the enrollment requirement for enrolling into healthcare at the Department of Veteran Affairs.
How do they do that?
Well, it used to be if you didn't have a service-connected disability, you would have to give a financial means test, and the VA would consider your monthly income and your net worth to determine what category you went into. Well, now as of December 21st, the VA is only considering your monthly income. They're not considering your net worth when determining what category to put you in. So what that means over a course of a year or several years is that the veteran will have less co-pays to the Department of Veteran Affairs for that medical care. Where if they were put into the highest category based on their net worth, category 7 and 8, they would have to pay, for example, a $25 copay. But because they no longer consider net worth, they only consider their monthly income, they can get put into a higher category where that copay is only $15, and in some cases, no copay at all.
You mentioned copay. How does a copay? Why would a veteran pay a copay through are you talking about going to a VA hospital or a VA clinic?
A VA hospital or a VA clinic. So there's several categories of veterans that VA healthcare is offered to.
Okay.
Category 1 would be a disabled veteran, service-connected, that has some injuries or illnesses that are associated with their military service.
Okay.
They're considered Category 1.
There's no copay for that.
There's no copays for them.
Okay.
And then Category 2 and 3, there's no copays. If you have a service-connected disability, but you're rated less than 50%, then you would have a copay. Okay, for your non-service connected. It's very confusing. There's lots of rules. But what the rule changed in December is instead of a veteran being put in Category 8, which is the highest copay category,
okay,
they can now potentially be put into a lesser category and have less copays for not only primary care or specialty care, but also for pharmaceuticals.
You know, so the people, I've been going to the VA here for years, ever since the clinic opened, because of my hearing. All my time in submarines, it kind of damaged my hearing a little bit. And that was the dumbest thing I did. When I retired, they gave me the hearing test, and I honestly answered the question. So they didn't give me a great percent disability. Of course, I realize now that was a mistake on my part, because it was severely damaged. But there are people who go to the VA clinic out here that pay a copay, the local?
Correct. So we have veterans that they do their obligated service for 4 years. They get out. They don't have any health insurance from their employer, or they're self-employed. They can potentially be enrolled in the VA healthcare without a service-connected disability and receive healthcare from the VA if they agree to pay the copays.
Holy smokes. And from what you're telling me, that copay is not very much at all.
It's not very much. And since the Affordable Care Act law has passed, we have assisted hundreds of veterans with enrolling into the VA healthcare because it meets that minimum essential coverage of the Affordable Care Act. And in most cases, it's less expensive to the veteran than if they were to go out into the marketplace and to purchase health care.
I can imagine how much less expensive it is. Could that be one of the reasons that the VA has been overwhelmed in the last 2 years?
I would say that over the last 10 years, they did open the enrollment up to more veterans. They made more veterans eligible. So they are taking on more patients in the VA healthcare system.
That's never mentioned. We don't talk about that. 38 years. It wasn't until recently that until I moved here that I even thought about going to the VA for anything, but I never thought about the people that could serve that. But still, let's go back. The 4-year veteran, do they still have to serve in a period of time of war in order to qualify or not?
No, so not for VA healthcare. They don't have to necessarily serve during a period of war. They just have to have less than a dishonorable discharge. So almost any discharge characterization other than dishonorable can be enrolled in the VA healthcare. What I tell veterans, if you're a veteran and you need healthcare, you should check out the VA healthcare system.
By all means.
If you meet now there is a means test if you don't have a service-connected disability, so they will ask you for your monthly income for the prior year. So it's a great benefit. They provide what I would classify as high quality care. I rarely run into a veteran that is enrolled in receiving health care that doesn't like the service. There's an occasional case where somebody doesn't receive the care they think they should receive. But for the most part, in my opinion, as a veteran service officer, the VA does a good job of providing health care for our veterans.
Well, based on my own experience out here, I think it's an outstanding clinic. Of course, that might be people from Deltona and people down south come up north, up here, or come from the north down south to go to our clinic because it is so well run.
That's true. Yeah, that's absolutely true.
And that's added a big burden to our. You do a good job, you get noted for it, and you pay for it.
Right. So an interesting statistic I heard last week at the VA clinic when we met with the director there is the clinic was built for 10,000 to provide health care for 10,000 veterans. And they currently have about 27,000 veterans enrolled that receive their primary care at the VA clinic in Vieira. That's correct.
47,000?
27,000.
27.
Yeah, so that's why you go over there, you can't find a parking spot.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I know it's hard, especially with all the solar panels.
Right.
Would you say, based on your own experience, that we have a number of our homeless veterans that do go to our VA?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of nonprofit organizations throughout Brevard County that assist the Department of Veteran Affairs with identifying those homeless veterans and getting them enrolled into the VA healthcare system. If you're a homeless veteran, there is no copays.
Wow.
So they could.
I have also heard it stated, Dennis, that the number of homeless veterans in Brevard County is probably lesser than any other county in Florida. We have very few homeless veterans here in Brevard County due to the fact that we have so many good organizations to try to help them. Have you heard that?
I had not heard that statistic. I know the homeless population in Brevard County has gone down over the last several years due to the efforts of our nonprofit organizations and in partnership with the Department of Veteran Affairs to bring that homeless veteran population down.
Yeah.
Now they just did a point in time where the organizations go out and on one night they count as many homeless people as they can, who's in the shelters, who they find in the parks, and those results will be released probably in the next couple months, and then that'll show us the current state of where we're at compared to previous years. And then there'll be a statewide report also.
It's interesting to me because I know I've heard so many comments about homeless and not helping them, and I know that we have some extremely good organizations in Brevard County that do everything they can to help the homeless. And then when I see anything bandied in the paper or from the county commissioners that talk about doing away with a very insufficient amount of money they give to county-based operations to some of our nonprofits to help them do their job, I think we're making a horrible mistake. $500,000 going to county-based operations. Some of the money goes to help bring in Meals on Wheels, other goes to help homeless people, other goes to help organizations that get people directed to service. And we did a survey last year, a very small survey. We need to do a large, we need to get the county behind it, so it is a larger sample. But we found that the two things that seniors were most concerned about, one, being aware of what was available, and second, financial ability to pay for it. Both of them came in at 17%. That's a large number, and it shows when you get older and you have a fear factor when you can't buy what you need is one thing. And when you can't even buy basics in order to survive, the stress that puts on the body, especially as you get older, it just makes you more susceptible to disease, to problems, falls, everything else.
Sure.
So, but we're way away from it. What is a veteran's pension?
So a veteran's pension is an income needs pension for low-income veterans that meet certain eligibility requirements. Primarily, they have to be a wartime veteran. So they had to have served during a period of war as designated by Congress in Title 38 of the U.S. Code. Primarily our World War II veterans, our Korean War veterans, Vietnam era veterans, and then from 1990 to an undetermined date, our Gulf War veterans would all be eligible for this VA pension if they're considered a wartime veteran. There is a service requirement for this pension also. They had to have served at least 90 consecutive days. 1 day of that period has to be during a wartime.
I understand that.
Okay.
Yes.
If they came in after 1980, the law changed and you had to have served at least 24 months of consecutive service or fulfilled your obligated service commitment.
But how would that veteran pension, how does that work? I mean, let's say you have a veteran and they're retired and they've not been able to save. They don't have a 401k. They don't have a pension. All they have is Social Security.
Yeah, so it's an income needs-based pension, and basically if you were looking at a single veteran, for the basic pension amount, it's $1,072 for a single veteran. For a married veteran, it's $1,400. So the VA would give you a pension. That's the maximum allowable pension rate. The VA would award a pension if you meet all the eligibility requirements. That would be the difference between how much money you do have in income and that maximum pension rate.
So let's say if a person if a couple retired and they had a joint income of $1,600 a month, would they qualify for a pension?
For the basic pension, they would be like $200 over the pension limit per month. But you can deduct from your income unreimbursed medical expenses. So any medical copays that you're paying, any medical insurance premiums that you're paying on a monthly basis, any in-home care that you're paying for. If you have a nurse assistant or somebody come to your house to help you with your in-home care, to take care of it, that can all be deducted from your income to qualify for the maximum benefit.
So it's kind of like Medicaid planning. If you don't, you have to go to an expert to know what you can count, what you don't have to count, what's deductible, and what the final result is. And that's and everything I read, and we're talking about veteran pension, who's eligible, how much VA pays, we're talking about survivor's pension, who's eligible. What really a person, unless you have to understand the system to really know where to go. You have to go to a service officer, I think.
I would highly recommend going to a veteran service officer. Now, it could be a county veterans officer like myself. We're located in the Viera Government Complex out in the Brevard County Government Complex in Viera. But there are veteran service officers located throughout the county that are volunteers that work for these veteran service organizations like the Department or the Disabled American Veterans. There's an office down on Merritt Island. VFW posts have several veteran service officers. The American Legion, Post 200 down in Satellite Beach, has a veteran service officer that can assist. So you don't have to necessarily come out to my office, but we are full-time veteran service officers. There's 3 of us. We're open from 8 to 5, and we can generally help everybody that comes out to our office.
Okay.
But I would if they're dealing with any VA benefit, especially for our senior citizens, because the mail can be very confusing from the VA. If they contact the veteran service officer, we can actually access their veteran information file in the VA system and see where their claim is, make a phone call, advocate for their claim if it's being delayed, and find out why it's being delayed, and maybe provide some additional information to help that claim get adjudicated. So yes, I would highly recommend contacting a veteran service officer.
You got the pension that you can go to. Let's just say the guy was a service member, he's got a wife. There's a pension that applies. The guy can apply for a pension. They can apply for joint pension because husband and wife. You got all different limits. But How about the World War II and the Korean vet that dies? He's got a widow. She doesn't remarry. She's now 88, 89, 90, 91, 92 years old, and she's living on $600, $700, $800 a month Social Security and food stamps.
Then they should contact our office because we can help them apply for what's called a survivor's pension. And the survivor's pension has similar requirements. The veteran would have had served during a period of war. The same time and service have to apply. But for a World War II widow or a Korean War widow, we're talking, an 80, 90-year-old survivor who probably needs in-home care, maybe, or they're in an assisted living facility. They would qualify for the survivor's pension and the aid and attendance special monthly compensation, which is added on top of that. So their pension amount can go for a widow, the basic pension amount would go from $719 to $1,149.
But they still would, but on top of that, they could get benefits for in-home care. Am I correct or not?
They could get, that money from the VA could be used to help pay for their in-home care, but it doesn't disqualify them for any other federal benefits that they may be eligible for through Medicare or Medicaid.
Okay. But if that person was getting $800 a month Social Security, they might get an additional $1,100 from the VA, right?
They could. Each case is different. So
okay.
if they had $800 and they didn't have any, if they were getting $800 in Social Security and they didn't have any unreimbursed medical expenses, the VA would only pay their pension increase, or their pension amount would only be about $300. So it would be $1,149. That's the maximum pension amount that they'll pay, but they'll take into consideration your income. So if you have $800 in income, your pension would be $300. Now, if you have $800 in income and you're paying $500 or $800 a month in unreimbursed medical expenses, okay, prescriptions, co-pays, some cases travel to the doctor can be deducted. That income then gets decreased. We tried to get it down to zero by, through interviewing the survivor, see what they're spending on medical, try to get that down to zero. Then they would get the full pension amount of $1,149.
So, but still, that woman would still then be living on $11,000 or $1,100 a month in food stamps.
And she would be getting her $800 in Social Security.
On top of the $1,100?
On top of the $1,100.
Okay,
if we can get her unreimbursed medical expenses deducted from her income, that's the key. So okay. I'll give you an example. We have a survivor moves in with her son and daughter-in-law. The daughter-in-law is taking care of the survivor at the house.
Right.
That survivor can hire the daughter-in-law for in-home care and pay the daughter-in-law, whatever amount they agree to. The amount that she's paying for can be deducted from her income to qualify her for the full pension amount.
And that's fair.
That's fair. It's called an in-home care contract. It's in accordance with Title 38, and we assist the veterans with the in-home care contract. We provide them with a fill-in-the-blank statement.
You can do all that out there?
We do all that out there at our office.
Oh my gosh!
So they would get basically the surviving spouse is able to live with the son and daughter. They get a little extra money to help pay for the care for them going into their house versus into an assisted living facility.
Okay. You mentioned one of the things you had in here was called enhanced or special monthly pension. Is that what you're talking about now?
It is. Yes. So to qualify, the common term people hear often is aid and attendance or aid and attending.
That's what I hear.
Or aid and assistance. It's really called aid and attendance.
Okay.
And it's a special monthly compensation that is added to the basic pension. So you first have to meet those requirements for the basic pension. And then if you need assistance with activities of daily living or you're in a nursing home, then you would qualify for the additional aid and attendance benefit.
Okay.
Okay.
Does the VA have, or you do have, nursing homes? Is there a VA nursing home close to us here?
There's a VA nursing home in Orlando at the Lake Nona facility. And most of the times that is just for service-connected disabled veterans.
Okay.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter what rank or rate you were?
It doesn't matter what rank or rate you were, no. But that's all handled through the VA medical care. You have to be referred to that nursing home. And
how would that work? I know I know of a case that was referred to, and it's a beautiful place.
Well, it's it's based on space available. First come, first serve. Basically, there is a waiting list in most cases. In the state of Florida, we have 7, soon to be 8, state-run veteran nursing homes. The closest one to us right now would be up in Daytona, and there's a waiting list to get into those also. But if folks are interested in state-run nursing homes, they can call our office and we can refer them.
The smart thing to do is get on the waiting list.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think if of all things, Dennis, from what we've talked about today, I hope we've generated enough interest in people's minds for them to call your number. And I'll say the number because I remember it. See if I'm right. 633-2012.
That's correct. Right.
633-2012, folks. What's your last comment, Dennis? You got 24 seconds.
Well, I would just, one, it's an honor and a privilege to serve veterans. I spent 30 years in the Air Force serving service members, taking care of their families, and having the opportunity after my retirement to take care of veterans is just a privilege. And if there's a veteran or a survivor or dependent in need out there, please call our office and we'll be glad to help.
Thank you. We're out of time, and I want to thank you today, viewer, for watching today's episode of Helping Seniors. I'm Joe Steckler. Thank you for joining our program today. I'd like to remind you that our senior information line is available to you at 321-473-7770. There you can get help and direction that could be helpful for your specific situation or circumstances. The work of helping seniors is very important, but we can't do it alone. That is why our sponsors here in Brevard County are so important. I'd like to thank our many area sponsors, businesses, and medical providers who support the mission of helping seniors that help us carry the cost of our media efforts. If you'd like to join us either as a business partner or simply donate as an individual, we would welcome your call at 321-473-7770. You are always welcome to visit our website at www.helpingseniorsofbrevard.org. Thanks so much for your help. It does make a difference.